Right now, changes made in Washington, D.C. are casting a shadow over Hawaii's economic future. And we're going to talk about that and much more with Governor Josh Green joining us live as usual. Thank you so much for coming in.
Thank you.
And of course, we're going to touch on that. But before we dive in, we absolutely know that you worked very closely with Representative Gene Ward. And upon his passing, is there anything you'd like to share about your colleague?
I just loved him very much. Gene and I served in the House together for many years. He was on my committees when I was chairing the Health Committee. And he, number one, had a heart of gold, was very smart, and we had a lot of fun together. Sometimes not exactly on the same political, ideological, same, I guess, ideas, but he was so good, and we're going to miss him dearly. We're going to take the recommendations from him. Before he passed, he gave me some recommendations of people who might serve, and if the Republican Party gives us those names, we'll honor that.
All right. Well, we'll keep following that here on Island News. The big story economically has been the tariffs. We're entering our first full week of that. We've heard from local businesses about their fears. How soon do you anticipate we could see some of these charges and prices going up?
It could happen any time. You know, the tariffs right now are having a very damaging impact on the markets, and I understand the Trump administration is trying to balance things out after decades of imbalance, but it's hurting us. I don't think that's the right play, and prices are already high. My concern is if you see a huge amount of the global wealth evaporate or disintegrate, people won't travel. And if they don't travel to special destinations like Hawaii, we could see a serious downturn. We already are seeing the effects of Canada. Canada is 5% of our travel base, but already 20% off. And if we were to see that just because globally people can't afford travel, we'd end up in a recession, which would be bad for healthcare and education and housing and you name it. So I did reach out to the White House and gave them my recommendations on maybe how to navigate this. We'll see if they listen.
I was going to say, do they take word, because you're going to have 50 governors from around the world looking out for your interests as well. How responsive have they been to that?
And generally, they do respond. The president told us to reach out to their administration if we had concerns. I will try to set up direct conversations with him when I can, but I have strong feelings that this has to be kind of modulated or moderated, because you can't sustain this kind of damage to an economy without long-term consequences, and it will affect everything. It'll affect the price of materials, and we have to build housing. We have obviously the cost of transportation. Everyone has a car or two here. Those prices are going to skyrocket in the next cycle. So I'm hopeful that they will get people to renegotiate some trade deals and end this in the next 7 to 10 days, because if they don't, we will then see a huge tidal wave of economic despair.
I'm going to ask about diversifying the economy, because we know tourism is our #1 industry, but there are some things that have been on the table this legislative session, including sports betting.
Yes.
What is your opinion on that as a potential source of new revenue?
Well, sports betting probably won't bring a lot of revenue, although I think it's likely that most states will ultimately end up allowing sports betting. People are already doing sportsbook and getting around it, and then you have the less than legal approaches happening anyhow. If the legislature passes it to me, I'll strongly consider letting it become law. Probably would become law, because frankly, we need revenues, and people are, like I said, especially men, are doing it. But we have to be careful about addiction. There's also discussion about gaming in general. 65 to 70% of our state did tell me in a survey that they would like to allow some gambling, as long as that revenue went to something that we need, which is specifically housing. And the Hawaiian community wanted it for Department of Hawaiian Homeland's housing. So that's how I'm approaching it. If it's in our interest for us as people, we'll strongly consider it. But you're right, economic diversification is critical. The university has to keep its research dollars. That's a big driver for our economy. There's a lot that we can do. Film, I believe, also should continue to be funded, because bringing film productions here helps us. We don't want to only deal with tourism, because remember, 5 years ago when COVID broke out, we crashed.
That's right, and so vulnerable to that. We'll keep following it too, and as well, thank you so much for your opinion piece on measles, and we're going to ask you more about that and keep following that as these issues develop.